Okay, my friends, let us continue with our character. We already have all the pieces of the blocking, all the geometries for the main body parts, and now we will begin to grab some pieces and collapse them into a single object. Let's look at our referent to see what pieces are convenient to collapse. For example, there are some parts, some objects, which we are going to take apart from the character's body, like the gloves, the armor, and the boots. So taking that into account, I think the most convenient procedure would be to merge the arms into a single object, then grab this whole part and make a single object for the head, thorax, and torso, the whole trunk, and then another object for the legs. So let's begin with that. But first, I want to make some small adjustments in the proportions. For example, I want to make the legs just a bit shorter. I will press Shift while I scale them a bit. Okay. And also, drag the hands upwards, just by a little. I think they're still a bit too big. I will slightly scale the forearm and move it upwards a bit, the hands too. The tip of the fingers normally reach around the middle of the legs, so if we draw an arc here, it looks like we're good. I think we can move it just a tad more. Okay then. Now it's time to collapse our objects. But before collapsing, I suggest you make a copy of the whole model. So, if you're not happy with the result, or if there's an accident, you can always recover from it. So I suggest you create a new collection. I will name it Backup. Now select the whole object, press Shift-D to duplicate it, and then move it to the new folder by pressing the M key to make a backup. So now there are two folders, one that contains the original and one for the copy. I will exclude the one with the copy. Okay then, now we can proceed with more confidence, developing our character. Okay, we will begin with the arms. I will grab the whole arm, all the objects that belong to the arm. Before anything else, I will enable the add-on that shows the keystrokes. I will now go over to Object, and then look for Convert to Mesh. That will apply all the modifiers. Click on Convert to Mesh, and now you can see that everything got applied, so we won't have any problem when I collapse them. I will select the whole object, press Ctrl A, and apply the location too, so all of them are at the same point. Now I will grab the whole arm again, then press Ctrl J to join the entire geometry. So if we go into Edit mode, you can see that all this geometry is now joined together. We can delete this half and work only on one side to be more efficient. And if we go into Sculpt mode, we can see that everything is separated in different face sets, which are all these colors. At this point, before joining everything in a single continuous geometry, we will be able to make the last couple of adjustments to the general shape of all these pieces. So I will go over them slowly. Remember that I have auto masking topology enabled here in the brush settings, which allows me to make adjustments in one of the objects without modifying the geometry of the object next to it. So I will readjust the most important parts of the shape. For example, for this thumb, I will make the brush bigger and drag it a bit towards the center, so it's closer to the hand. And for this part of the hand, here between the thumb and the palm, we should extend this area so they join, forming a subtle skin layer. I will increase the volume at the base of the thumb. Then smooth this part at the top. And before collapsing everything, I will do another thing. I will separate these two objects, the upper and lower parts of the arm, because I want to give them more resolution. So when we perform the remesh, we don't get such hard borders. I will press P, separate selection, then select both, and add a subdivision modifier. In fact, let's add 2 levels and apply it with Ctrl A. Then select everything once more and press Ctrl J to join them again. This way, we will make sure that when we perform the remesh, all the geometry looks fluid. Okay then, I will proceed with the smoothing, adjusting what I see that still needs work. I will center this part. For some reason, this shoulder is not colored with a face set, but we can clearly see the difference. Smooth everything. I think we can push this further to the back. And when we're happy with the shape, we can collapse everything. Applying a remesh. Make sure the whole shape of our object looks fine. I will isolate it to check the result and make some minor adjustments on the surface. And when we're happy with it, we will perform the remesh. By default, it's on 0.1. If we perform the remesh with this resolution, you can see it falls short. It will join a lot of pieces the wrong way, so we need more resolution. I will try with 0.2. Apply the remesh and see how it looks like. I haven't applied it yet. Ctrl R. Sorry, it was 0.02. I was making it even bigger. And then apply the remesh. This is the result. I think we can give it some more resolution. Let's set it to 0.016. Remember that smaller values will give us smaller geometries. The polygons will be tinier. Okay, this is a good resolution. Now we can smooth these pieces. And I will delete the face sets so everything has the same color. So go over face sets from visible and everything will have the same color. I will begin smoothing all this, making sure that the geometry looks very fluid, very soft from all the angles. So I will smooth out the whole surface, going softly over it all. Now, when smoothing the more detailed parts, we must be much more careful. So I will be very careful here. We can add some more geometry to this part with clay strips and keep smoothing. Careful not to strip too much detail from it. Smooth over here too, so everything looks fluid. Give a look at the shape, looking for any discontinuity. Here, for example, there's a subtle sinking on the wrist. I will raise it a bit towards the left, so it looks more fluid. I will smooth these joints between the palm and the fingers. Add some more volume over here to make the knuckles stand out a bit more, and keep smoothing. At this point, we don't want to add too much detail just yet. We only want to have a good surface quality. Okay, here for example, it looks kind of irregular. I will smooth it out. Here too, the surface looks irregular, so I will go over it with the grab brush, smoothing it out. We must always check the model from all sides to really see the shape's surfaces. We can even improve the visualization of the surface by changing the matte cap over here. Look for some different textures, and that will allow us to identify certain differences on the surface to better read the shapes. I like this one. And keep smoothing it out. Okay, it looks kinda irregular over here. So using clay strips, we will add some volume carefully and smooth it out. I will emphasize this joint a bit more with the crease brush. That's it. Okay, so the hand looks pretty decent. A few more adjustments, and now we will proceed with the forearm. So let's go back to our reference. Here's the frontal referent, which I find quite good. You can see that this muscle over here, the biceps, starts more or less from here and then splits in two. It goes this way over there, so we will mark these paths. Using the clay strips brush, I will start adding some volume over here. This is actually too much. I will decrease the brush intensity. Make a stroke over here. And I can also use the crease brush to make some sinkings on this part. I will undo this with Ctrl Z. The idea is to have the fall offset too sharp for the crease brush, so the sinkings really stand out on the geometry, so they are not so rounded. And this muscle goes down to the wrist. Very carefully, I will add the geometry. And you can see I'm going in the direction of the muscle fibers. I will keep adding volume. We must add some more volume over here. Same here. And now pull this down. I will add some volume on the anterior part too. I must reduce this area over here and smooth it. That's it. Now let's mark the elbow. Let's set this referent to its posterior view. Okay, so for the elbow, there's a bone that comes from here, from the wrist, called the ulna, and it goes all the way up to the elbow. So we must draw it on this part, exactly over here, so I will add just a bit of volume, using clay strips, and with the crease brush, I will emphasize it even more. Slightly sharper. Raise it while holding Ctrl and release it to make the sinking. Smooth it out. At first we will make hard marks, and then we will smooth it out. Okay, now we will speed up a bit while we make the necessary adjustments. Then, using crease, we can mark over here and blend it a little. Let's also draw over here, this part where the triceps is located, and keep polishing the elbow. Let's also add some volume using clay strips and keep smoothing all the locations we've been through. We have a nice shape, so now we must work on the surface, so it feels really fluid. Hey, I should adjust the shape a bit over here. And also adjust the fingers. Keep adjusting these parts, which looks kinda irregular. That's it. It's looking pretty nice. I will smooth the shoulder a little more. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this arm is looking quite good. Okay then, this arm is ready. Let's continue with the legs. I'm going to do the same thing I did before for half of the arm. To give it more detail, we will add a subdivision surface. Let's add 2 subdivision levels. Then select everything. Go to Object, Convert to Mesh. Okay, let's do the same for the feet. This shape actually looks quite good, but it's lacking resolution. I will add a subdivision surface and then add a support loop over here, so it preserves the shape at the bottom. I will raise this a bit more to maintain the fluidity over here. Remember that the boots will go here. And I can move this a bit to the back. Not that much around here. I will scale this a bit so the tip is more rounded. And now I will select everything. Go to Object, Convert to Mesh, and press Ctrl J to join all objects. I will remove the whole left side. And okay, let's go into sculpt mode. But before that, we need to join the buttocks too. We left them behind. So I will remove the mirror, adjust them a bit, then select the leg again and press Ctrl J. Here in sculpt mode, if we need to make any adjustment before performing the remesh, we must do it now. Okay, let's do the remesh. Let's set this at 0.02 and remesh. Sorry, it should be 0.02. I believe we can set a lower value, as this piece doesn't require as much detail as, let's say, the fingers. That one demands a lot of resolution, but not this one. So let's set remesh to 0.03 and then begin smoothing. I will delete the face sets. Select face sets from visible and smooth everything little by little. I won't put much effort into the feet's anatomy because she's wearing boots, so we don't really need it. But we do have to emphasize the knee. The knee is always quite pronounced. Okay, let's check the buttocks first. I want this to be more fluid. I will adjust them a bit, decrease the crease brush strength, and I will add a bit of volume to connect the buttocks with the legs. I will go over this, smoothing it out. Smooth every part of this shape so it looks really fluid, nice and rounded. Okay, and now let's mark this knee. I will simply use the crease brush and mark over here. Lift it a bit. And again, mark down here. And smooth everything out. Let's see our reference frontal view. I feel this referent is falling short for the legs details. There is a muscle, two muscles actually, that goes in this part just above the knee, this way. Around here, where the knee splits. I will emphasize this a bit. But it won't be very noticeable. She will be wearing pants anyway, so we don't need to emphasize it too much. If we mark it too much, we will give the impression that the character is quite beefy, and we don't want that. I will mark the knee a bit further. Smooth. We can smooth a bit more. A bit more on the top. And we will also add a bit more volume over here, where the buttocks meet with the legs. We will use the clay strip brush to add volume. Okay. That's it. I think this is enough for the leg. I will mark this part a bit more, sink it a little. That's it. So now I will add the mirror modifier to the arms. Same for the legs. And I will do one last thing. I will grab this very object and pull it backwards to generate the underwear. So we have it into account from this initial phase. This may help us later on to make the pants when we're collapsing everything. So we will simply sculpt it. Let's do a remesh. Let's sculpt it, trying to adapt it to the buttocks shape. I will now speed this up a bit while we finish this piece. Okay, the underwear shape is ready, so let's reduce the buttocks volume a bit. Adjust it a bit. Also pull the torso a bit to the back to make it blend nicely with the buttocks. Adjust this in the front too. We can push the top part. And keep giving it some final touches, trying to get a really polished shape. I will delete the mirror here for a moment, hide it, because when we have mirror enabled in sculpt mode, we can get performance issues. Okay, I will enable it once again. And adjust this shape a bit more. This shouldn't stick out this much. That's it. Let's leave it like this then. Actually, this piece might be a bit unnecessary. I think it might not be that useful. Anyway, it looks pretty during the production process. Okay, let's leave it like this. We already worked on and polished the limbs. And in the next video, we will collapse and smooth the head and the rest of the trunk.